So you want to become a detective? Well, you've come to the right place. Because with this record, I'll teach you all the ropes of the electronic detective game. To begin with, you need the tools of the trade. So get the electronic detective computer in front of you and get yourself a case fact sheet and a pencil. Now, you're ready to get into your first case. It's what we call in the business a simulation. We'll be pretending to use the computer. Remember, you're not really using the computer. In this simulation, this record will take the place of the computer. And in this way, you can reenact the case over and over again whenever you want to teach somebody new how to play. Okay, let's get started. If you were using the computer, you'd first press the on button. You'd hear... Then you'd decide how tough a case you want to handle. You look like a promising shamus, so we'll play at the second level of difficulty. And that means you would press 2. Now, you let the computer know the number of players. We'll be playing a solitaire game, so you would press the number 1. Then you would press the enter button. Now, if you were really using the computer, you'd be all set to play. At this point, you'd hit 2 gunshots. And the funeral dirge. And that means somebody got bumped off. The display window will tell you who it was. In this case, let's assume that number 16, John Feinflugel, bought the bullet, and that a body was found at A, the art show. Okay, rookie, let me tell you what you do with this information. On your case fact sheet in section 1, write the victim, number 16, Joan Feinflugel, and where her body was found. A, the art show. Going down the sheet in section 2, cross out everything under the art show. The body was found here. And in this game, the murderers are too smart to ever return to the scene of the crime. In section 3, you can also cross out number 16, Joan Feinflugel, because she's the one person who ain't gonna tell you nothing. And finally, remove her card from the deck and let her rest in peace. Okay, Flatfoot, this is where you start grilling the suspects. Let's see what Al Farouk has to say. Pull out suspect card 2 and place it on the tray just below the card storage. If you was to really be using the computer, you would press the suspect button. Press number 2, which is Al's number, and press the button Enter. Now you're going to get Al's alibi on the display window. It might say B7. So you line up B and 7 with the colored columns under the display window, and you'll see that Al was at B, the theater, with number 7, Rip Rap. All this information is important, so you got to keep a record of it in your case fact sheet. In section 3, find number 2, Al Farouk. In Al's box, write, I was at B with 7. Now, what else do you know? Well, if Al was with Rip, then Rip had to be with Al Natch. So next to number 7, Rip Rap, you write, I was at B with 2. Since this information places both Al Farouk and Rip Rap at the theater, go to section 2, under B, the theater. Fill in their numbers 2 and 7. You've now got Al's alibi. If you were playing with other detectives, this information would be shared with everyone. On your turn, you also get to ask Al 2 private questions, and you're the only one who'll know the answers. Here's where you look at Al's card. Select a private question like, did a male do it? If you were using the computer, you would press private question, press 2, the question number, press enter button. The answer on the display window might be yes. Now that's a juicy piece of information. So in section 1, sex of the murderer, check male. For your second private question, you might want to find out to what area did the murderer go. So you would press private question, press 3, the question number, press enter. The answer is 4, Midtown. So on the case fact sheet in section 1, where did the murderer go, check Midtown. When you're working on a case at this level, you only get to ask 2 private questions. So your turn is over, and you would press the end turn button and return Al's card to the storage area. You look pretty smart, so I guess by now you've picked up how to use the computer and the suspect cards. From now on, we'll just record the information on the case fact sheet. The next suspect you might want to question is number 5, Mickey O'Malley. What's his alibi? He says he fled to C 4. C is the card party. 4 is Midtown. Back on the case fact sheet in Section 3, next to Mickey O'Malley, make a note. I was at C, Midtown. And up in Section 2, under C, the card party, you can now place Mickey's number 5. And since you now know where the card party was, you can write Midtown in the rectangular box under C. Next, you get to ask Mickey 2 private questions from his card, like, was the murder weapon a .38? Mickey says no. So if the weapon wasn't a .38, you can safely deduce that the weapon was a .45. Now, in Section 1 of the case fact sheet, you can check off 45. For the second private question, did the murderer go to the east side? Mickey's answer is yes. So back in Section 1, check east side. And that ends your interrogation of Mickey. But you've learned a lot. Let's review all the murder facts that you know so far in Section 1. The murderer was male. He used the .45. He made his getaway to the east side, Midtown. Now, we'll continue this case on the other side of the record. Welcome back. At this point in a regular game, you probably would have questioned some women. But to make this practice game nice and simple, we'll stay with the men. So let's call up a natural suspect. Number 6, Max Feinflugel, Joan's husband. Let's hear his alibi. Max says he was uptown with 3 at the time his old lady bought the bullet. In Section 3, next to number 6, Max Feinflugel, you can write with 3 uptown. And naturally, you can also fill in next to number 3, Pepe Perez, that he was with number 6 uptown. Now this is some very important information, because since Max and Pepe were uptown, and since you've previously learned that the murderer went to Midtown, that gives these 2 men airtight alibis. Okay, so let's find out what Max has to say in private questioning. Where was the .45 hidden? His answer? It was hidden at B, the theater. In Section 2, under B, the theater, you can now write .45 in the bullet-shaped area. Maybe Max can help us locate the .38. Let's ask private question number 5. Max says F, the factory. So we write .38 in the bullet under F, the factory. At this point, we know 2 more places where the murderer can't be. The theater and the factory. Because in this game, the murderer is too clever to be found near any gun. We're getting close now. Let's find out what number 8, Buster Bailey, has to say. Buster's alibi was he was on the east side with number 5, Mickey O'Malley. In Section 3, next to number 8, Buster Bailey, write east side with 5. And next to number 5, Mickey O'Malley, we add the information east side with 8. Back up in Section 2, add number 8 to the card party. This is a vital piece of info, because not only does it place Buster Bailey at the card party, but we can now place the card party on the east side. So in Section 2, you can write east in the oblong-shaped area under C, the card party. Look at what we now know. Both Mickey O'Malley and Buster Bailey are on the east side, Midtown. We already knew that the murderer was on the east side, Midtown. If you've forgotten that, review the murder facts in Section 1. The murderer was male, he used a .45, and he made his getaway to the east side, Midtown. At this point, any rookie detective using logic could tell you that the murderer had to be either Mickey O'Malley or Buster Bailey, because they're the only 2 suspects that fit all the murder facts. But which one is it? And how do we narrow it down? That's what separates the men from the boys. None of Buster's private questions can help us, so let's go directly to someone who can. Look over Section 2. We know that the .45 was found at the theater. We also know that Al Farouk and Rip Rap were at the theater. Because these 2 men are the same sex as the murderer, and because they're at the place where the murder weapon was found, they are the only 2 people who can answer the vital questions about whose fingerprints were on the .45. We can get our answer from either Al Farouk or Rip Rap. But let's question Al again. Of course, he gives us the same alibi. But what we're after is his answer to this private question. Are an odd-numbered suspect's prints on the 45? Al's answer, yes. And that busts the case wide open, because number 5, Mickey O'Malley, is the only odd-numbered suspect that fits this M.O. If you were using a computer, you'd quickly press the end turn button, and on your next turn, you would be ready to make an accusation. Press I accuse. Press 5, O'Malley's number. Press enter. The International Police siren rings out, and the display window reveals that number 5, Mickey O'Malley, did, in fact, commit the murder. And that wraps up your first case of electronic detective. Now, sometimes the cases will fall into place as easy as this one. Usually, they're much more complicated. But with over 130,000 different crimes locked in this computer's memory, the chances are you'll never play the same game twice. So good luck, and I'll be seeing you on the beat. One word of warning, though. Don't make any hasty accusations. I lost my partner that way.